Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Pastor Troy Wynn Sr. coming again with another edition of financial encouragement, hopefully encouraging you to tackle your financial issues and to change the financial landscape of your life and of your legacy. Here's the thought for today. Focus determines finances. Why don't you say that with me? Focus determines finances. Now, I got to tell you something. I gave y'all my testimony, my experience of how I used to be as it related to finances, how I was struggling financially, man, just to take care of my family and struggling to do things outside of my family. And I was definitely struggling to be able to do the things that God wanted to do in my life and through me. I think far too many believers may not recognize and probably haven't been taught that our finances are supposed to be a tool that God can use for his glory and for the expansion of his kingdom. See, Satan will let you have your faith, but he's not going to let you have your finances. Let me say that again. He will let you have all the faith in the world, but he's going to fight you about your finances. Why? Because with proper finances, God can do amazing things in the name of expanding the kingdom of God. And Satan doesn't want that. Now, he's mad enough that you're saved. He's mad enough that you've given your life to Christ. He's mad enough that you love the Lord, but he'll let you have all of that to keep you from having finances that God can use and finances that God can leverage. And we, the people of God, are taking a stand going into this up and coming year. We're taking a stand for the rest of our lives that we will not just be saved, but we are going to be able to have tools that God can use to impact the kingdom of God, as well as have tools that we can use to build our family legacy, to do things for our family and in our family, and to be able to do things as God leads us to impact the lives of others. See, I personally had to stop treating the symptoms of my poverty, and I had to start tackling the issues. And let me tell you something. One of the greatest challenges in the world is to stop treating the symptoms and start tackling the issues, the reason why your finances are off kilter. What I had to do was I had to abandon the need to feel good, the need to look good, and I had to deal with the discomfort of my financial affairs. And man, let me tell you something. Oh, what a discomfort it was. At the time when I was 19 years old, I had to feel good and I had to look good by any means necessary. It wasn't until a few years later as I recognized that the reason why I was doing that is because I was avoiding that discomfort of my financial affairs. And as long as I looked good and I felt good, I was able to project an image to others, but I was also able to distract myself from the truth and the reality. Bruh, you need to get your finances together. See, when we don't have an abundance of funds, F-U-N-D-S, I've discovered something, that we try our best to have an abundance of fun, F-U-N. And there's a reason, there's a psychological reason why we do this. We do this as a reward to ourselves for not having an abundance of F-U-N-D-S. It's our way of anesthetizing the pain of poverty. Here's what I found though, and this happened to me in a situation that I will never forget. If we ever take a minute in that moment where we are having an abundance of F-U-N, but we don't have an abundance of F-U-N-D-S, in that moment, if we will just pause and look around in that moment, you will discover that most of the time we are having an abundance of F-U-N with others who also don't have an abundance of F-U-N-D-S. In other words, we find comfort having an abundance of fun with others who don't have an abundance of funds. And most of us don't realize is what we're all doing in this group is we're anesthetizing the pain of our poverty. We are trying our best to forget that we're broke. We're trying our best to forget, at least for a moment, a minute, a couple of hours, we're trying our best to forget the depravity of our financial situation and the frustration that is attached to it. So we dive into these situations and these scenarios with others that give us a reprieve or a break for a little while. And I want to tell you something, that if you're not careful, you will spend your entire life in those moments. You'll spend your entire life anesthetizing the pain of your poverty. And you'll spend your entire life avoiding dealing with the difficult issues, the root causes of your financial situations. You know, poverty by race in this country has been measured And it takes something out of your soul when you look at the numbers, especially if you're black. Whites in the world carry about 9% of the poverty worldwide. Hispanics carry about 17.2% of poverty in the world worldwide. Now, the Asians and the Native Hawaiian and the Pacific Islander, they carry about 9.7% of the poverty worldwide. But blacks, African Americans, we carry 21.2% of the poverty in the world. Now, I want to downshift and let that pause for a few minutes because I'm praying that spurns a fire in you like it spurned in me the first time I discovered those numbers. The first time I discovered those statistics, it did something to me because I was a part of the 21.2. I was a part of the 21.2, and I said to myself, this is not where I belong, and this is not where I'm going to stay. To each his own, but I don't want to be in the 21.2% of the poverty carriers in this world. Now, the only demographic, the only race of people that carry more poverty than blacks and African Americans, you've guessed it, are the American Indian and the Alaskan Native. They carry 24.2%. So between the two races, that's almost 50% of the poverty of the world. And you think that you and I don't need to take a look at our finances? You think that you and I just need to keep living from paycheck to paycheck? You think that you and I just need to keep anesthetizing the pain and having an abundance of fun, F-U-N, when we don't have an abundance of funds, F-U-N-D-S? Here's the flip side of this truth that also spurred me to get myself together, is that some have discovered the addiction that poverty creates. And I hope you know this already. If not, this may be in a moment where you can look in the mirror and say, you know what? Pastor Troy is on to something. Yeah, there is an addiction that poverty creates. What addiction is that, Pastor Troy? It's the addiction for poor people to make themselves feel good, look good, and have an abundance of fun in order to distract themselves from the painful reality that they don't have an abundance of funds, F-U-N-D-S. And there are folks, organizations, corporations, entire cities have capitalized on this addiction that poverty creates. That's why you see an abundance of liquor stores in low-income communities. You see an abundance of hair and beauty supply stores in low-income communities that are not owned by the people who live in those low-income communities. You see an abundance of drug houses and drugs being sold. And it's amazing how everybody knows where the drug houses are, but they are allowed and permitted to exist. Why? Because there is big money in the addiction that poor people feel to make themselves feel good, make themselves look good, and to have an abundance of F-U-N because they don't have an abundance of F-U-N-D-S. And we're not even going to talk about the money that's made off the sex industry, which is fueled by those who are in poverty. Now, yes, there are wealthy folks who drink liquor and wealthy folks who buy beauty supplies, and there are wealthy folks that do drugs, and there are wealthy folks that are involved in the sex industry. But if you will study the statistics, all of these industries are predominantly funded and fueled on the backs of those who are poor, impoverished, or don't have an abundance of F-U-N-D-S. And I share this with you because I want you to get mad. I want you to get angry. I want you to know that you are being used by a system that prays to God that you never get out of the hole. Praise to God you never get your finances level. They pray to God you never have financial abundance. Why? Because once you do, then you're free from being their financial slave and you begin to make some moves on your own. You begin to do some things for yourself and for your family. You begin to be someone that God can use through their finances to make a difference and an impact in this world. And there are corporations that pray that your eyes never become open and you never, ever commit to the discipline necessary to change the trajectory of your finances. I just stopped by to tell you, bump that and bump them, that you can do it. And I pray to God that you will do it because the payoff is worth the pain. Ah, my God. Sometimes I like my own teaching. You know, I got to say that again. The payoff is worth the pain. See, I realized me personally, and I use myself as an example, because if I talk about you, you'll get mad. But if I talk about me, maybe you can see yourself and then draw some lessons from it. I realized I had to embrace a different focus. Oh my God, the focus I had was just tragic, guys. It was looking good, feeling good, and having fun, and covering up the fact that I was struggling financially, ignoring the fact that I had work to do financially, trying to anesthetize my pain and trying to forget as often as I could that my finances were a mess. See, the focus is everything, guys. See, the kind of focus that I had caused me to have the kind of finances that I had. And today I can say the kind of focus that I have has caused me to have the kind of finances that I have. And the kind of focus you have is going to determine your finances. Here's what I know, and you need to understand this, that focus can be a distraction to the fact that you don't have an abundance of funds. And I'm talking about the wrong kind of focus, focused on feeling good, focused on looking good, and focused on having an abundance of FUN. It can only be a distraction. See, it's the distraction that keeps us undisciplined. It's the distraction that keeps us in a deficit. It's this very distraction that keeps us going in the same financial circles, going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in debt, deeper and deeper and deeper in lack, deeper and deeper and deeper in this abyss of poverty. Here's what I want you to embrace today. Everything about money boils down to a mindset. Everything about money boils down to a mindset. See, at 53 years old, I'm blessed to have cultivated, and key word is cultivated. I'm blessed to have cultivated a mindset that is financially fitting for a 53-year-old man. I'm blessed to have cultivated that. But here's the truth, and here's what I want you to hear me say. I had to cultivate that mindset because God knows I did not have it. I didn't have it when I was 19 years old. God knows I didn't have it when I was 25 years old. I didn't have it when I was 30 years old. It took me almost till I was 35 or 40 to really start understanding the financial situation that I was in and my responsibility to do something about it. See, here's what I want to tell you about your financial mindset. When your financial mindset is behind, your financial progress will be behind. Woo! God, this is rich. This is rich. And I'm sharing it with you absolutely free because I really want to get you motivated and inspired, because motivation doesn't last but a little while, but inspiration can start a fire that can fuel you from start to finish. See, when your financial mindset is behind, your financial progress will be behind. And I will admit, my financial mindset was so far behind. I had the mindset of get it and spend it. I had the mindset of look good, feel good, have fun. And that financial mindset really set me behind financially. But here's the good news. Mindsets can be cultivated. I've been teaching people for years that God has given us all a gift, the gift to be able to hack our own brain, the gift to be able to cultivate a better mindset to create a better financial situation for our lives. Now, let me be 100% honest with you. It's hard work. God is in hard work. But here's the other side of that truth. It's worth it. It's worth it, worth it, worth it. Why is it worth it? Because freedom is priceless. In my mindset, once I shifted it and cultivated it, it enabled me to stop spending my income for items that devalued immediately once I purchased them. My mindset allowed me to stop buying items, tools, and even toys for the false perception and the false acceptance that it gave me. See, I had to stop. I'm talking about myself. I had to stop the self-defeating act of trying to divert my attention and distract myself from the fact that I needed to get my finances together. And I want to say this, and again, it's going to sound sacrilegious for some of you in the religious community, but know that I speak truth to power. And sometimes you need to hear it in its rawest form. Faith does not determine your finances. Oh my God. Did a pastor just say that? Yes, a pastor just said that. Faith does not determine your finances. And here's the litmus test. Look at how many people are in the church and they have faith. And then look at the status of their finances. Faith does not determine your finances. You want to know what determines your finances? I'll tell you. Focus determines your finances. Focus determines your finances. Now, you've got faith, but do you have focus? Here's a great combination. Faith and focus will, I promise you, change the trajectory of your financial landscape, and it will take you from poverty to prosperity. And when I talk about prosperity, I'm not talking about everybody being a millionaire or a billionaire. When I talk about prosperity, I'm talking about having more than enough to do what you need to do in this life, and having more than enough so that God can use your finances as a tool to expand his kingdom. And let me tell you something, you can do it. Your financial situation is not insurmountable, but you've got to allow your mind to become cultivated with a different type of focus that says, I don't just want to have an abundance of FUN, fun, but I also want to have an abundance of FUNDS, funds. Number one, so that God can use me as an instrument of his hands to make an impact in this world. Number two, so that I might be able to leave an inheritance for my children and my children's children. And then number three, so that I might be able to enjoy the fruit of my labor on this side of eternity. I pray and hope that this spurns you and inspires you to take action here and now as we go forward into the new year, that you will become so focused and so fixated on coming up and coming out, so focused and so fixated on cutting back so that you can come up, that you will do the hard work necessary so that you can experience the harvest that God has promised every believer who will combine faith with focus and allow the cosmopolitan mix of those two entities to determine your finances. If this blessed you, do me a favor, share it with somebody else and use this information, apply it to your life, and let's journey together from where we are to the next chapter that God has in store for us. Hey, this is Pastor Troy Wynn Sr., Senior Pastor of the Freedom Church. And by chance, if you're anywhere near the Warner Robins, Georgia area and you don't have a church home, I extend a personal invitation to you to come join us at the Freedom Church. The address is 820 North House Road, Warner Robins, Georgia. And of the many subjects that we teach and preach on, finances happens to be one of them. Why? Because we believe in the whole man, not just the half of man. And we teach everything that God has given us to teach his people so that we can be an example of the brilliance of God's love and the power of God's presence and principles actively working in our lives. Have a blessed day, everybody.